Oh wow, what's this? This kind of looks familiar.
Doesn't now? Booyah, Grandma! Booyah!
Let's check out the world premiere.
It seems very common for a mascot character to have their own kart racing game. I mean, who doesn't want to rip off Mario Kart? It's so simplistic and casual friendly. I bet companies look at those games and think, let's have our franchises do go-karting. That should be cheap and easy to make. Well, I guess it isn't easy, because there's a lot of crap karting games out there. Luckily, one of my favorite mascot characters, Crash Bandicoot, always managed to stay above those crappy karting games. For the most part. But even looking at Crash Team Racing, it was just a passion project by developers from Naughty Dog. They didn't even care about making a game themed around Crash. They just wanted to make their own unique kart racer. But luckily, Universal, the owners of the Crash IP, took Naughty Dog's offer to make it an official Crash karting game. And the results are a game that holds its own against Mario Kart 64 and even rivals Diddy Kong Racing with its own unique track design, boost mechanic, and even a trick mechanic, which is something Mario Kart will have to add years later. But first I want to mention, I will not be talking about the single player modes or any of the other modes in these games. I will only be talking about the racing modes. I don't have enough experience with the other modes to go in depth about it, so for this video, we will only be talking about the racing modes of these games. The course layout in CTR starts off simplistic, but as you get into the later courses, it becomes more tricky with tight turns and bigger jumps. Personally, I think the game's track design makes it a more competitive game than Mario Kart, and most other kart races as well. But it's more difficult to master, especially with the type of boost mechanic this game has. Besides the boost you get from jumping off ramps, there's also a 2-button drift boost, in which you have to tap the drift button in time with the meter, while you're holding the other drift button. It sounds kinda complex, but it feels rewarding once you master it. And I do feel the adrenaline when I get a good boost combo going.
Have you got what it takes to race, battle, and beat anyone who's got guts to get in your way? Welcome to the world of Crash Nitro Kart. Face off in brutal battle arenas, take on hundreds of hazards, and use a ton of power-ups. Critics call it the best kart racer on PlayStation 2 and Xbox this year. It's time to do some serious damage, Bandicoot style. Crash Nitro Kart's rated E for everyone.
Crash Nitro Kart is a sequel to CTR. It was originally developed by Traveler's Tales, until all duties were handed over to Vicarious Visions. Since Naughty Dog left to go work for Sony exclusively, the folks over Vicarious Visions have some big shoes to fill. And I gotta say, they fit quite nice. First thing I want to bring up is the epic intro sequence to this game. The Crash Bandicoot games in the past do have this fun energy to it when it came to the title sequence intros. But with the intro to Nitro Kart, the announcer and the animation are cranked up to the max, and the music is at full force when the logo forms in.
Universal Interactive presents a turbocharged extravaganza by Vicarious Visions. Brace yourself for Crash Nitro Kart!
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that intro since it was so close and personal to me in my childhood. It always got me pumped up to play the game. It's just because it was so awesome and epic. But anyway, on to the actual gameplay itself.
This game is a really good follow-up to CTR. I do however think the overall course layout is less tricky and a bit easier compared to the tracks in CTR, but they're still somewhat challenging in their own right. The boost and drift mechanics are thankfully unchanged, so the racing feels as fast-paced as it was before. There's also a new anti-gravity gimmick on some sections of certain stages. It's nothing that feels different, but it allows the course layout to be more dynamic and varied in ways such as driving on upright set pieces or driving on any surface in a tunnel. This concept would later be stolen by Mario Kart 8. But I can't talk crap because not only did they use it well, they improved it. And don't bring up F-Zero had it first. I don't count that as karting. I count that as a hover racer. It should be its own subgenre.
What's worse than a crazed Bandicoot behind the wheel of a car? A Bandicoot clashing with other crazed drivers and shooting a really big weapon. Introducing Crash Tag Team Racing. Clash cars to team up and destroy your competition. Or switch places and drive your way to victory. Plus, adventure where no car can go to unlock bonus cars and tracks. Battle on the street and on your feet. Combine and conquer in Crash Tag Team Racing. Rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
Crash Team Racing is kind of the black sheep of the Crash karting games. The game is going to originally be developed by Traveler's Tales under the title Crash Class Racing. Try saying that 3 times fast. But the project was instead given to Radical Entertainment, who then scraped every idea about the project except for the concept of clashing and fusion. Now, I don't know for sure, but I do feel like if Traveler's Tales were still on the project, we could have gotten a kart racer that's more faithful to CTR and Nitro Kart. but instead we got something entirely different from what the franchise has ever done before. And don't let the name Tag Team Racing fool you. The game is not at all related to team racing whatsoever. For starters, this game feels automatic. The turns are so wide, I don't even need to drift to stay on the road. You get nothing from the jumps except a spectacle, and I don't feel like I'm gaining anything from the power slide. The main gimmick of this game is clashing. If you clash with another racer, either you or the racer you clashed with gain a turret to shoot down the other racers. I admire the concept for being a creative answer to Mario Kart's Double Dash, because almost everybody wanted to be like Double Dash around the time. But the execution of this mechanic does the opposite of enhancing the racing experience. If you're in turret mode while you're clashed with another racer, the game sort of becomes a shooter, and you don't really need to do anything while you're shooting. The other racer just drives for you. The items feel kind of useless and not rewarding to collect at all. Why would I even need an offensive item when I can just get a gun by fusing into another cart? You can also abuse the gimmick by clashing into a racer that's ahead of you, and then unclash to get ahead of them. Yeah, the racing sucks, but I think this game's main focus is the adventure mode, which plays like a bootleg Crash game. But I don't care about this mode. I will give it props for having a rear view mirror in the interface, and finally for the first time giving Japanese style Crash a playable game model. I feel it's worth mentioning that High Impact Games, the developers of games such as Secret Agent Clank and Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier, were in development of a Crash Team Racing reboot, but the project was ultimately cancelled by Activision. All the assets and ideas were reworked and added to DreamWorks Superstar Karts, which is a game I haven't played, but I've seen footage of. And while it doesn't look anything like Crash Team Racing, it doesn't look half bad on its own merits. So after a long hiatus, rumors and teases of a new Crash Team Racing revival, the moment of truth finally happened at the 2018 Game Awards.
The Game Awards continues. Everybody is here tonight, including Crash Bandicoot.
What's going on, guys?
CB in the house. What are you doing here?
Not much, man. Just thought you deserved a trophy of your own.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled is like a Smash Bros. Of Crash Karting. Not only did they remake all of the CTR stages from the PS1, but they even remade all the stages from Nitro Kart. Now that came out as a surprise for me. The interesting thing is that the game doesn't have the anti-gravity gimmick Nitro Kart had, so most of the courses from the game had to be completely reworked. No stages from Crash Tag Team Racing because that game was crap. But they still did take some inspiration from the game, like its costumes, some of its karts, and they even brought back the announcer's chicken stew for the DLC intros. The feel of the game's controls not only feel really close to the PS1 CTR, but honestly they feel kinda better. Not that there's anything wrong with the old game's controls, but I had an easier time making sharp turns than I did in the original. It also goes without saying that this game is just beautiful to look at. The modern graphics definitely help with the split screen multiplayer, because I tell you, a 3 or 4 player split screen on a 4:3 aspect ratio were tough time.
Hi, I didn't see you there. I was too busy admiring my car. Now, I'm Crash Bandicoot, and if you're like me, you love cars and you know tons of really specific things about them. For instance, this car has tires.
But in conclusion, the Crash Karting games, with the exception of Tag Team Racing, have always done a good job at keeping their own identity. It always feels like I'm driving through a level from the platformers. And I have to say, Nitro Fueled is my favorite Crash Karting game. Hell, it's in my favorite top 3 kart races of all time. Rodner Sonic Transform being number 2, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being number 1. And I can't wait to play all the extra DLC this game has to offer. Ooh boy, this is a long one to make, especially since like most of the gameplay footage was like by a 4:3 aspect ratio, and you had to see me, I had to add the little blue bars around the borders around the screen to fill up the space. But I learned a lot making this video. Like you know, simple spin-off franchise has an interesting history to it. It's funny that like Traveler's Tales tried to make their own Crash Karting game twice, and Activision canceled both of those. And like apparently there's a game I didn't mention. There's a Crash Nitro Kart 2 for the iOS. It looks like a crappy low budget app game. But other than that, I really do love this franchise. I probably love it even more now that I know more about it. I've played them all. Tag Team Racing is really bad. I do mean that. But other than that, yeah. See you guys next video. Logging out, everybody.